All my favorite songs are slow and sad. I don't know what's wrong with me.
Welcome to the Sad Song Queens podcast, where we dive deep into the songs that make us cry. I'm Laura Webb.
And I'm Lindsay Wolfington. So, Laura and I want to start a new thing called Sync Up, where we just check in with each other, see how the morning went before recording this, see how the week is going, see if there's a new favorite song we'd add to a mixtape.
Or maybe what we cried about.
Yeah. Have you cried or been happy this week?
I did, yes. I had my family in town, and we actually went down to San Diego because my dad was a Navy pilot, and his aircraft carrier is the one in San Diego called the Midway. And my sister's never been, nor has my nieces or my brother-in-law. And it was really amazing. I've been, and I had a really great visit and got to talk to the docents who showed me his ready room, his bunk room, and just getting to be in a place where he lived and worked for several years was really, really special. And I wanted to be sure to go with my sister and my nieces and my brother-in-law. And we were talking to the librarian, and he was showing us pictures of my dad and all his squadron, like the people in his squadron who were dear friends, and just seeing them back then. And me and my sister were just kind of reconnecting about everything because it's been a minute and life gets so busy, and she's so busy with kids, and she lives across the country. And anyway, we had a whole cry and hugged, but it was really nice. And we just were talking about those final days. And I guess one of the things which I did not know is with Alzheimer's, you never know what time in their life they are. And a lot of times my dad would go back to the Navy days because those were really, he loved flying, like just loved it his whole life. And my sister was telling me he had lost someone while flying, and it was his wingman. And had crashed. And I guess that was something that he talked about a lot. Not when I was visiting at the memory care, but with Lisa and Dave. Oh, wow. And he kept talking about it, but we couldn't figure it out. And so then we were just kind of talking about that period. And but it was all, it's a good cry too, because it's just remembering and honoring. And it was really great. Is it really nice? Like, it's really great to be in a place and talk to people who know that world.
Who understand.
So, yeah.
All right, let's get into it.
Today we are talking with the artist Coloring about his song Coda. Jack Kenworthy is a Nottingham-based music producer and composer, and the brilliant mind behind the alternative electronic solo project Coloring.
Coloring wasn't always a solo act. It was started by Jack and three mates from Goldsmiths University. Initially gaining attention with a series of EPs on Interscope Records, Coloring toured with the 1975 and the Japanese House, and had their music featured in projects such as After, Netflix's 13 Reasons Why, and The Vampire Diaries. In 2019, the band folded, but Jack continued Coloring as a solo act.
His second album, Love to You Mate, is a deeply personal yet communal work shaped by themes of love, loss, and resilience. His wife's brother, Greg, was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer in 2021, and the family became extremely close in the year before his death. This album is a love letter to Jack's wife, Helen, her family, and Greg.
We have had the pleasure of working with Jack on several projects. He created original songs for our films Hello, Goodbye, and Everything in Between, and Monster High 2. We have so much respect for his songwriting and look forward to chatting with him about the creation of his song, Coda.
So grab those tissues and let's get into it, because we all need a good cry.
And now, Coda by Coloring.
I know you feel afraid of waking up. Nothing's gonna change it. How to go forward. How to go forward. The hurt that's on your face, watching you trying to be brave. You don't have to be always. You don't have to be always. I know you didn't want real. I know you don't believe it, and I wish you didn't feel it, but I've got you. Yeah, I've got you. Time will never fade. All of those memories away. It'll always be yours, love. Yeah, they'll always be yours, love. I know you didn't want it. I know you didn't want it, and I'm sorry that this is real. I know you can't believe it, and I wish you didn't feel it, but I've got you. Yeah, I've got you.
My eyes are already a little misty.
Yeah. Welcome, Jack. Thanks for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
Do you tear up hearing it back?
Yeah, I do. I do a little bit. This one's I'm really glad that you want to talk about this song. It does actually really mean a lot to me, this song. It's a really personal song, and, you know, this was sort of a soundtrack to a really important part of my life, and I'm really proud of it, and I'm sad that I had to write it, but I'm kind of grateful for it as well at the same time. And I don't listen to it a lot. I think it's a really honest thing, and I guess music has always been a thing for me where I make sense of my life and my relationships with people, and this song sort of is definitely one of those for me, for sure.
You know, the honesty just comes so through, and it's very apparent that there's no artifice when it comes to this song in this moment, for sure.
I mean, this song is the first song I wrote for my last album. But the album was inspired about a period of where my family and my wife and I we lost my brother-in-law, and it was he sadly passed away in 2022 of a short battle with cancer. And during that time, I was kind of writing lots of things and using it to make sense of what was going on. And often it would be kind of mumbling things. You'd maybe write a melody at piano. Generally, that's how I write tunes, and I know it's not that way for everyone, but generally I might start with the harmony, the melody, and then mumble anything, and lyrics tend to come later, and I might hear the odd line and think, oh, that's interesting, and turn it into what it's about. But this was really different, where this came right much later. It was the first proper song that was fully formed. And people talk about, I hear this story all the time of songs kind of coming from nowhere. And I've got to say, I wish I could do that a lot, but I don't. I have to really work hard at them. But this one was very much a sort of soul endeavour. I wasn't thinking about anybody hearing it or ever talking about it now, and so it's really crazy that we are. It was purely just like writing a journal or writing something on my phone. I just do remember it really vividly. It was just sat at the piano and just came out, and I knew it was honest. And I never know if a song's good or not, and it's obviously debatable, it's so subjective, but I knew it was very me and very it made sense for me to talk about that sort of stuff. And so this was just, it was a direct message to my wife, and the lyrics just wrote themselves. The melody wrote itself. I actually, listening back just then, I realised there's parts of it that I was making mistakes as I recorded it. It was one take.
Oh, okay.
It was no plan or anything. It was just me at a piano and press record. And I heard the chorus, and I still remember the line is wrong. And, but I went on with it. I carried on with the song.
Wait, which line?
It's not very big, but there's a line when it just says, "I'm sorry that this is real," and it was meant to be, "I'm sorry this is real life." And I forgot the life part, and that just suddenly, that short, losing that, it felt less musical. The life had a bit more melody about it, and I didn't sing that, and it felt more conversational in a way. And it's funny how that was way more powerful to me. I'm sorry this is real. I just think there's that chorus, I know you didn't want it, and I'm just sorry that this is real. I mean, that was about that's kind of summed it all up really for me at that time of supporting someone you love through the worst thing they could ever go through, really, and losing their brother. And that song was that was the best way I could really say it. And then I slowly started playing it to people a bit further down the line and thinking maybe there's an album here and there's songs that are kind of all linking together, and realised that it was turning into an album and this sort of journal really of that time, and it just about family and friendship and supporting each other. And that whole period, for me, it was a really difficult time for all of us, but also a really beautiful time in many ways, because it was all about family and friendship and love and just being together in it. And we all looked out for each other, and we all lived together. And so, yeah, I think this definitely was the first song that kind of made me think, okay, maybe I'm saying something that's worth sort of talking about, and maybe one person hears it and it might help them in some way. And I felt that this was that one for me. It's not the hook, it's not got the hooks, it's not got the big chorus. It's slow, it's quite demanding of the listener, but I think it's probably the best song I've ever written in many ways, in terms of the most me, in a way.
I don't think it's demanding of the listener. We did an Ask Me Anything, and someone submitted a question like, what songs make you feel heard? And I think both Laura and I were like, well, here are the songs that make us feel comforted. Mm-hmm. And I mentioned a Lumineers track that's just a piano track. And I love what you say about a journal entry, because you're right. This doesn't follow like some particular like songwriting structure. It feels like a really honest and raw journal entry. And that's the beauty of it. But then also, like, when you said I messed up, I was like, I didn't know if you meant the piano or lyrics. And I do feel like the way your piano is recorded is so cool. You almost hear the piano working, and you hear like the atmosphere around it. I think that contributes to the honesty of it. But then also just like, I found the little arpeggiated thing you do at the end very comforting. I mean, the lyric, "I've got you," couldn't be more comforting. Like, that's all anybody wants. And back to like, "I'm sorry this is real" versus "I'm sorry this is real life." It's so funny, like the phrase like real life. I feel like sometimes when you add life to things, it feels like mundane or typical, like it's something people say all the time. But like when you leave us hanging on real, it's super powerful.
Yeah, it's really interesting you say that, because I think about that quite a lot with songwriting, and using certain words, you can overuse them almost, and they kind of dilute things a little bit. I know what you mean, but in terms of, you talk about that kind of "I'm sorry this is real," that lyric. I mean, I was thinking about it the other day. I mean, I'm a huge, I don't know if it's like cool to say, but it should be cool to say, but I love Coldplay. I've always loved Coldplay.
I was going to say, this
We
feels
love
like
Coldplay.
that bird song. Isn't there a bird?
Right, yeah, right.
The
Okay, yeah, I know that one.
Yeah.
That's it, yeah. I was thinking about it the other day, and I might be wrong when I say this, but I was thinking about like how fashions go in music, and you think about a song like Fix You, it's just an unbelievable piece of music, and I think a great song, an unbelievable
Agreed.
song.
Absolutely.
But it's funny how, and like I say, I might be wrong and it's up for debate, but saying I will fix you now is sort of, you might not sing that as much today. You might say it in a different way. You might kind of meet someone halfway, if you like. And I feel like with this song, to say I've got you, I want it to sort of lean on the side of when we lose people, which is or a part of our lives, we all do it. It's having someone give you the space to grieve or to go through loss and let them feel it if they want to. That's sort of what I mean with that. And I think there was a lot of times which, supporting your loved one through loss, you can't fix it, you can't change it, you can't do anything about it, but all you can do is just give them that space and let them. You don't have to give answers, you don't have to say it's all going to be okay, we're going to do this and this. You can't, and so you can just give them that space. And often saying nothing was something I learned through that, was often the best thing, because you're angry, you're sad, you can't necessarily find the answers. And that was what I really meant by I've got you. And, going back to that kind of intro little sound you mentioned, the piano, I was thinking, with you guys as well, with working in film, we hear about motifs and leitmotifs all the time. And that little thing, it starts and ends the song. It's not included in the song in any other way. It's not in the chorus or anything, but I felt like that was a kind of motif in the album, a moment that it's in a couple of other moments on the record where it's played again. And I don't really know what it links to necessarily. It's not like it links to a character or a person. In a way, it's having something connectable or recognisable that follows the thread of a body of work. And we see it all the time in films where a character has that sound, or Darth Vader has his three notes or whatever it is. So yeah, I think in pop music it's interesting to kind of include that as well, for sure.
We listen and we make notes beforehand, and I literally wrote, I'm sorry that this is real. That line really resonated, and I said it might be one of the kindest things to say someone who is going through loss. And having gone through loss, you want to say the right thing, or you want to try to. And I know what some people said to me, and I try to collect phrases or things to say, because it is so like, what do you even say to someone? It's the most awful thing, right? But I want to save that one and probably use it, by the way, for people,
Right.
because it's so beautiful. And there's certainly things that people say that are awful, and they don't mean to, and that. But it's just sort of like, you're crippled and you're like, I just want to fix it, but you can't. Like, there is nothing.
And I definitely went through that phase, of course, and I still do. And we have it all the time when people tell us things that, you want to say, you don't know what the right thing to say is in that moment. And that was something I learned kind of early on, that I don't need to necessarily talk. It's just giving someone space to let them go through it or feel it, or not knowing they're on their own through it. And it's, it can be such a lonely thing, going through loss, and that's a huge part of it. You go through the lonely stage, the angry phase, the immense sadness. But I think we all had this amazing experience where we got to share. I mean, it's kind of the biggest honour you could ever be given, to sort of share someone's the latter stages of their life. It's kind of about as big as it could ever get. And we knew how lucky and special that was. And for us, I mean, there was full of laughter and full of joy and happiness, and every moment is so special. And these things that, that the album that I made was, I mean, it is sad, of course it's sad, but there's moments where it's joyous and fun and silly, and there's all sorts of things, and that's a part of it. You can be 1 minute really, really sad and crying, and then the next minute you can be joking. But I think that's something we need to celebrate, and I believe that. And as I say, everyone is different, but I think I'm not afraid to talk about it as well, and because you can do it from an honest point of view. And with this album, it was always really scary when I realised I'm talking about this stuff and this is deep and there's other people involved. It's not just me. And, it's a big thing to put in the public domain. But I think as long as you do that sort of thing from a place where it's honest and pure and with love and friendship, then hopefully people can see that and understand that.
Yeah, and it's a little piece of Greg out there, which feels really
Absolutely,
nice.
Yeah, he's on the front cover.
No, and that's really nice. Like, we had Abraham Alexander on, and he has a song about his brother that he lost. And I thought this was the most beautiful way. He's like, I'm getting to bring Xavier, and everyone's saying his name and knows his name everywhere I go. And you're like, that couldn't be more perfect, right? Like,
Totally. It's amazing. I mean, that's playing, or, going on tour and playing gigs, and being able to sort of sing about him and my family and wife, that's great. It's amazing, and people knowing the songs. I love that song. That's really just an incredible feeling. And for a long time, I kind of fell on the side of sort of storytelling, and you can't always write from a place of pure personal experience. You can't all the time, and so you have to make up stories sometimes. And I love that. I love the Joni Mitchells of the world, or Tom Waits, or Leonard Cohen, or making these creative ideas and things. And then also when you give them something that's so honest, it kind of makes that a little even more powerful. So for a long time, I think I fell on that side and was maybe a bit scared to kind of be honest. And I think making this album, and certainly this song, I honestly never thought anyone would really hear it. You don't think about that sort of thing. And I mean, it's not got 100 million streams, but it's great that people...
Yes.
That's right.
Yes. The power of sad songs is that people will continue to go back to them, and you just watch.
Yeah, it's true. That's the great thing about music. It's always there and it never goes. But I mean, I've literally just watched that Bob Dylan film a couple of days ago. I got late to it, and I was just thinking about those songs. They're just amazing songs. And here I am, 60 years on, still listening and thinking, like working out the chords and stuff like that, and it's still really relevant, so it's a very privileged thing I get to do, not only music but to sing about people I love.
So when you were making this song, had Greg passed?
Yeah, it was really soon after. Yeah.
Would you say you typically are journaling, or that you sit down to the piano and then words come? How did this all come about?
I'd sort of written a lot of things that became songs in the end, but it might have been a chorus. Like there was a song I had called "How'd It Get So Real," and that was like something that my wife said to me once, and I thought that was an interesting line. And I was writing a kind of idea and a few chords and stuff, and that made its way in that chorus, but I had no verse and didn't really have much more. And then there was a song called "A Wish," which again I never really thought would go anywhere, but I always really liked it. But these were kind of like a chorus here and a verse here, and then it would sort of not really go anywhere then. And then this song was the first one that was a fully formed song, and that was it. I mean, it was just a piano and voice, and then this little synthesizer called an OP1. It's like a tiny little keyboard. I kind of use it a lot because you can record yourself. It's got a microphone on it, and you record your voice and sing, and then you can kind of turn it into an instrument. So you can turn it into like a keyboard or things like that. And I find that taking that and putting it's kind of slightly electronic and modern sounding, but it's very soulful, it's very human, and making kind of electronic music from a kind of humanistic sort of point kind of made the album feel a little bit more, kind of blurred the line quite well. So yeah, I was using OP1 on everything, and I'd sort of set myself rules. I was like, I only really want to use piano, this one synthesizer, and maybe bass drums, no guitars. So these sort of set limitations that I wanted. I made the record with two friends called Mika Gordon and Luca Bucciolati, and this one I sent to Miko Coda. I sent him that and a bunch of other tunes. And I remember him calling me up, and he just said, "Hey man, I've listened to songs," and he just said, "That Coda song, I just want you to know I cried when I listened to it." And that's quite unlike Miko to say that. So I was kind of interested that he'd said that. I wasn't making an album at the time, really. I was just writing music and wasn't really thinking about that. And I knew that when he sort of said that, I was like, okay, that's good, because I really feel that one. I really connect with that song. And then he did this amazing mix on it, and sort of, like you say about the kind of piano clicking and things like that. It's my old piano I've had my whole life, and it's that kind of character that I really love. That it's all these clicks and noises. You feel like you're in the room and you're sat next to the person. I guess that kind of brings the intimacy to a song like that.
Yeah, I really feel like I'm sitting next to you on the piano bench and you're just playing it.
Yeah.
And how do you create that? Do you mic it inside as well?
No, that's honestly, it's just a really noisy piano. It's got the pedal on it is really old now, and every time you press the sort of sustain pedal, it just clicks and makes such bad noises. And I'm constantly trying to get rid of it on all my other songs, but this one, it just sort of stayed. And I'm so used to it now, actually, that I forget that the song's making loads of clicks and noises, and people will often say to me, "Sounds great, but can you edit out the clicks and stuff like that?" So I've kind of got to kind of do that. It's got I mean, it's also interesting, like, that like it was like a one take thing. I mean, it was the true essence of a demo, and I can hear myself running out of breath at times as well. Like I'm literally just working out the song as I'm sort of recording it. So it's kind of crazy how I used to be so specific, as a lot of people are when you're starting out, about hundreds of takes on vocals, and this one, it was sort of, it made me learn to be that you don't have to be perfect.
No, the
technique,
imperfections. And honestly, the vocal performance, you're feeling it like because you can feel the emotion in your body. Like it sounds like I don't have enough breath because I'm sad, or it's locked in my chest. What was so ethereal and breathy?
Is that the OP1?
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I know this
it's
is a
really
podcast,
cool.
but I'll show you.
No, yeah. So OP1, okay.
Yeah,
like
it looks like that. It's like a tiny little keyboard. It's got a little microphone up here, but they kind of made famous by that Bon Iver album, 22 a Million.
Oh.
So that album, and then James Blake, Overgrown, I think he used that, and it's just brilliant. You can kind of take it anywhere, and it's got this kind of real weight and analog quality to it. It doesn't sound sort of plastic. It looks like a little toy plastic thing, but it's incredible, and I use it on everything. I mean, there's endless possibility. You can make loops, you can do field recordings, you can kind of make crazy sub-bass sounds, drums and stuff, so it's kind of everything.
Can you tell us how we are hearing that on the recording? Like, is it a breath? Is it a ooh that you turned into something?
Yeah, so if I literally go, Sad Songs Podcast, so you can kind of do this, and then you can...
Theme song!
I know.
Or you can kind of make a kind of chord. Okay, maybe. So for this one, I think I must have done like, and then you can kind of. It might be over soon, like that kind of stuff, you know. It's distorting a lot, so but you can kind of see, you can kind of turn it into some kind of crazy sounds, and then you can add like your effects and your reverbs and stuff like that. And so I kind of use that on a lot of stuff. I've always been really interested in, like, I love electronic music, and I love this kind of blend of real and sort of quote unquote fake, and that kind of the real and synthetic sounds. And if you can kind of blend that in an interesting way, and so that's really good for that, because you can make synths really sort of feel very human, and make electronic music feel very, very human. I mean, you just don't really know what you're getting as well. It's one of those things, you sort of turn it on, you play a few notes, and it's just like being naive again to anything. It's like tuning a guitar in a random tuning where you don't know what you're going to play, and you can kind of surprise yourself. I find that with creativity in music, I certainly do, and I know a lot of other people talk about being naive again, and that's where you can kind of find the most unusual creative things. Piano's sort of slightly different because you can't move the keys around as such, but with like a guitar, for example, if you know, Joni Mitchell, a hero of mine, you know, she'd have like 100 guitar tunings across her catalogue, and she would often just do it because she'd just write the song and tune the guitar to whatever she was writing at the time, and often she'd probably be playing the same kind of chords that she would if she was in standard, but just the way it is, the inversion, it might be you're putting the third note of the scale at the bottom, or you might be switching it all around and stuff. So just doing things like that, you can kind of just bring a different feeling out of music. And so in terms of electronic music, for me, it's always naivety I find really, really creative, and just surprise myself, and that thing is just kind of perfect for that, you know. I hope OP1 sponsor me after this.
I know, I was just thinking that. I was going to ask, are they?
I wish.
That's like the concept, like another way of saying naivete is like play, right?
Right, yeah, absolutely.
Right, and we all need it for our brains and our brain health.
Yeah, like totally. And I have a newborn son, and well, newborn, he's 1 now, but he's
crazy.
Yeah, I know. He's just a great example of that. And like watching him is like watching a child hear music for the first time or anything. It's just so inspiring, because he just sees the world how it's meant to be seen, and you know, the way he will touch everything, and I mean, he tends to put everything in his mouth. He'll pick up a leaf and straight in the mouth, and then like a battery, or you're like constantly like pulling stuff away from him. Like, come on. But music as well, I find he's really loves music. I mean, we sit at the piano and he'll just bang away, and just hearing a sound and that joy you can see. And it's often the way where I find he kind of comes full circle with music and art. And I guess that's why you hear of artists who spend 20, 30 years perfecting how they paint, and then they come back full circle and sort of get, you know, Jackson Pollock or whatever, and it's all about feeling and spontaneity and improvisation and stuff like that. So I think that's always been a really exciting thing for me.
You got to get your son in the OP1.
I literally thought that today. I literally thought that, actually. It's so funny you say that. I was working on a new album at the moment, actually, and there's a few kind of about this new sort of phase of life and stuff, and I was thinking, I should just record him just playing noises.
Because they don't have the filter of like, this sounds like this. We say it like
No.
this. So yeah, what would come from that?
He's really good for actually testing songs on, because I'll play things in the background, and if he doesn't care, he's just not playing with his tracks or whatever. But then if he'll just start nodding, and he'll start dancing. He starts sort of bouncing, and he laughs. One of the last songs I put out was called Unconditional, and he laughs whenever that song is played when I was making
Really?
it. And I was like, this is maybe a sign. Maybe he likes this. Or maybe he was just laughing and going, this is terrible, Dad. Just what are you doing?
Well, there's something in their body, right? Like you can see it with young kids. Like there's just something undeniable that they feel. And
we talk so melodically to children as well, don't we? You know,
right.
It's obviously something so instinctual and in humans, and I guess we go back to the animal kingdom, and you know, why is certain animal sounds melodic, or bird sounds, or cows, or whatever, you know. There's obviously a reason for why music is so powerful, and it must come from that. And so I think that all the time. You know, I was really, as a kid, I was really interested in jazz and how that is very complex and it's technically really difficult. But then you think about sort of like a blues music, for example, like how it tends to be 3 chords and it tends to be just stating a feeling, and both are just as powerful. Or I guess that's the beauty of art and music, is that technique doesn't really matter. It's just feeling at the end of the day, and some things we feel and some things we don't, and that's why we can't put our finger on it. I love that about music. If you feel something, then that's kind of half the battle, you know.
I saw a clip on Instagram recently that was like a music exec talking about kind of to your son bobbing along. Like, he's like, the music tells us what the hit is. Like, you look around the room and you see who's bobbing their head or who's tapping their feet. Like, that's how you determine a hit.
Right, yeah.
So I think using your son as a barometer for, you know, your upcoming chart toppers is a good idea.
That's it.
what are his current bops? Like, what are his go-tos right now?
Well, I have been playing a lot of Bob Dylan, although he's not very fussed on Bob Dylan. He really likes soul music, loves Stevie Wonder. He loves kind of dance music. His grandparents will play Radio 2 a lot, which they tell me all the time that he loves Radio 2.
Is Radio 2 oldies or soul?
Yeah, I guess kind of classic. You hear like classics, you know, sort of a British. Radio 1 is kind of modern new music, or the charts. Radio 2 is kind of, you'll hear kind of classic tunes. Radio 1, more younger audience, like Radio 2, slightly older audience.
Except for this younger audience.
Except for him,
The youngest, So one of the things I remember when I came to London in 2022, and we got to meet in person, but we had been working together already. And I remember us sitting down and talking, and we just went deep, which is my preference. And we talked about loss. And at the time, my dad was in hospice, so I hadn't lost him yet, but I'd lost him from Alzheimer's. And I just remember that conversation. I cried, but also like that was our first time meeting, and that we went deep, and also through the power of music. And actually, I don't know if you know this, but it was your conversation and then a conversation I had with Davey from Bear's Den. Those conversations really stuck with me and really helped me. You know, like there's things that I come back to of like, just that someone else has gone through this, that you can connect this way through music. And it was like, well, these are so helpful. Maybe these conversations would be helpful. Like Lindsay and I had been talking about doing a podcast. And sort of like, well, what would I want to listen to? And like, what would be interesting? And then I was like, right, sad songs, talking about emotions. So you are one of the impetuses of this podcast.
Oh, that's crazy. That's very kind. Well, I got to say, guys, like, it's so lovely to see people so passionate about music who work on the side of what you do on music. I mean, I just played, we were listening to that song Coda at the start, and you're sitting with your eyes closed and you're so intent on it, and that's just, it's wonderful, because you know, it's so easy to think about you might be working for, your job is to get songs in films and TV shows and stuff like that, and you've got to be thinking about the film and the bigger projects and what other people want to hear. But it's wonderful that you come from such an honest place, and that, like what I do, kind of making it, you do it from how you listen to it and how you appreciate it. And I don't know, I love to see that. It's so easy to forget and think, what will other people like, and is this cool, and has it got a hook and stuff like that. But you come from it from an honest place, and it's crazy that we're talking about this song of all songs of mine, because it's, like I say, it's not got any hooks, and it's probably one of my least played songs. And But I love it, and I'm really grateful that you hear it and you listen to it. So thank you for that.
Jack, I think you're like making me cry, like in a different way than I've cried on any other episode. That is so sweet.
Yeah.
I mean, you're not the first person to say that, in that I guess sometimes we feel like we're kind of on the business end of things, right? So like maybe that feels like a lot of people on the business end are cold, but we really have to bridge the two. And I think if we don't know how to feel, how are we supposed to know how to make our audience feel, you know? So it's like we have to be music lovers, like, and that's the best part of the job. You know, I actually was just saying to a friend today, like, I'm going to go on a little summer vacation, and I'm like, but like things are kicking in on one of my shows, but at least like maybe if they call, it's for creative stuff and not like a bunch of paperwork I have to do or something. So, because that's always a joy. And back to kind of like the play, like I think sometimes like even just taking that moment at the beginning of the episode to play the song is giving us time to just be with the music. And I think sometimes that's the hardest thing to do in life or in a job, is just like be with the music. I mean, absolutely, we are music lovers, but like we're not alone. There are a lot of people out there who care as much as we do. So I wanted to remind you of that, and any artist and songwriter about that. Like what you do matters and is so amazing.
And we have these songs that are like our little, we love them, we feel attached to them, and maybe they don't end up in the project, but we like, this song is in my sad song playlist that I will pitch, and maybe 10 years later we will find a place for this, you know?
And more than ever, isn't it? I'm sure you'd be the best telling me this, but seeing how music is, how it comes around, and you know, so many artists that young people are listening to now, the TikTok thing and the whole Sophie Ellis-Bextor or the Fleetwood Mac Dreams thing, it's
Kate
amazing. Kate, right, yeah. My friend Luca, like who I make a lot of music with, he always says that to me, and he's always says, you know, it'll be there, like as the music's there, it's never going anywhere, and I love that. I remember when I first started out and signed like a first major record deal and things like that, I was really terrified that it had to kind of have an instant impact, it had to be straight away, and there was definitely a feeling of that at that time.
There was actually, last night when I was listening to Coda, it went and brought on Heathen right after, and I was like, oh, I forgot about this one. Like, I love this one. Anyway.
Yeah, well, I do remember songs like feeling like they needed, when you released it, if it didn't kind of get a radio play within the first 2 days, or it didn't get in New Music Friday and things like that, it was like, oh God. And of course, for record labels and things like that, it's a business and stuff, so I appreciate it. I'm not naive to that. But now more than ever, it's amazing where I always sort of feel like that. I speak to young musicians, I think, it's anything haven't. I mean, like songs I've had that I've done nothing. I mean, no one cared. One song, I guess my biggest song on Spotify in terms of plays, it went on Spotify the wrong day. It was just a bit of a disaster. And for years, like, it just didn't really do a lot. And that was fine. I mean, it's just, you can't help it. You just think, oh, maybe this one didn't connect. And then that got in a film. Now it just sort of, that was like 3-4 years later. So, and you know, and that's what you guys do. And it really does really help. I mean, I make a lot of fans and connect with a lot of people through songs that have been in TV and film, and even just one song can kind of, you get a message, someone, they saw it in a film and then they've got it at their wedding for their first dance, or they've got it, they walk down the aisle to it, and it's mad, it's just crazy.
What is your biggest song?
It's a song called The Wave. It was Nova More, it was the one I was really enjoying, where he was sort of talking about his biggest song, Anchor, that you were talking about, and he was saying that you know, he might never have a song sort of that does as well as that, but you know, it really kind of, it's the passage to the next song. And I do feel that about music, it's all just that journey, and you're learning all the time, and you're experiencing new things all the time. And you know, some songs I might not choose to write now, but they've got me to that next point. And it's funny how tastes change and things like that. So yeah, no, I'm really grateful for it, that it gets to connect with people, you know.
And we thought actually it would be an interesting conversation, that how we got to know you and how you're really skilled at writing debrief. So Lindsay, if you want to explain a little bit.
I actually was dying to know if the OP1 is on Everything I Ever Wanted, which was the song you wrote for us for a movie we were working on called Hello, Goodbye, and Everything in Between. We wanted something that was a little bit quirky. We had a very clear directive, and actually what I thought was a very clear brief, because the director definitely, he wanted messiness, he wanted like weird sounds or weird horns in the track. And I remember you had like weird horns in that song. And did you use the OP1?
I will have definitely used it at some point in it. Yeah, I remember it really well. I mean, because it's often the case where I was slightly different, but you might get people saying, there's a film that wants a song. Have you got any songs like this? And it's like, yeah, got don't, and then you're quickly scrambling to write something in the next 4 hours. I remember the brief really well. It was for the scene in a film where the character is a musician, and I remember the brief was it was a Bleachers song, and it was a Rex Orange County song, and the Bleachers song was very much kind of the Springsteen-y kind of Born to Run fast pace thing, and then the Rex Orange County one was much more sort of bedroom pop lo-fi, and it's kind of that thing where you as the composer has to work out what is it about these two songs that they like. And I remember just thinking that the Bleachers one, it was sort of talking about kind of youthfulness and romance and little kind of buzzwords. They sort of sound obvious, but like they'll mention like that summer that we fell in love, that kind of stuff, if it's like a kind of young audience. In this case it was. And then with the Rex Orange County one, it was about kind of being self-deprecating and not kind of taking yourself too seriously, because you're sort of thinking, is this kind of person going to break up with you at the end of the film and all this kind of stuff. I remember sort of thinking there's like a piano part of the intro, and I kind of purposely played it sort of badly, kind of clunky. I didn't want it to be kind of really flashy and cool. It needed to feel kind of young and, naive, I guess, like someone's sort of not trying too hard. And
someone's first song, maybe, yeah.
Right, yeah. And then the horns kind of thing came. I was thinking the Rex Orange County, this sort of slightly soulfully thing, and I found a little kind of horn things together, and then modern-y drums, and it felt kind of like, I felt, oh, okay, that's sort of hitting what I think that's about as good as I can do in the time that I've been given. And I think that's the way I look at it. It's like, you've only got this much time, which is kind of the best thing in a way, because I just spend way too much time fiddling and tweaking and stuff. So actually, when you've got a couple of days or a day or whatever, it's like, okay, that's the best I could do. It was great, and Jordan did an amazing vocal on it, Jordan Fisher. It's a real privilege to get to ask that. I love that thing, and any writing, any song, you learn something from it, and you feel like you're kind of trying new things, so it's always great fun to do that.
I love hearing your analysis of it, because you did everything. You hit like 5 nails on the head as
really?
you were
Okay.
describing. And it was like, yes, that's what we needed. Yes, and we needed that. And we needed that. Like, thank you.
But that takes a real skill to really zero in on that. We will often, as supervisors, reach out for briefs. And what is so great about partners at labels and publishers and pitching companies is that we talk to Jimmy Park and, okay, here's what we're looking for. And she's like, okay, we have this person, this person, this person. And we're like, oh, yeah, we really like his sound. And that you really understood the brief. I will also say that we really liked your demo with your voice, but obviously we knew Jordan needed to record it. The name of the song is Everything I Ever Wanted, and you all can find it. It's on anywhere you stream. It's Jordan Fisher, Everything I Ever Wanted. I just pulled it up and it's almost at 1 million plays.
Is it? Wow. I remember when I called it that, because there's of course the Billie Eilish song called Everything I Ever Wanted.
Right.
It was honestly, and it wasn't intentional, I promise. I think maybe her song came up around that time, but it was literally within weeks, I'm sure of it, when I wrote that song. And I hadn't heard the song. And it wasn't until I sent it to you, I was like, oh my God, Billie Eilish, the biggest artist in the world at the time, has just written the biggest song of the year called this. They're never going to go for it. So sorry, Billie, if you're listening. I didn't mean to. Although, well, Phineas, you know Phineas, don't you? So
honestly, yours had that ever in it. You know, big difference. People don't forget.
Yeah, it's true. And there's a lot of songs that have the same title.
So then, when we were working on Monster High 2, we came back to you as well.
One, you did an amazing job with the brief. It was one of the director's favorite songs. I think it didn't necessarily translate as well to our singers, but it was the message was so right on. We used it in the end title because it was like the perfect end title message. It's called Never Walk Alone. Similar message to I Got You. Did we come to you at a similar time to what you were dealing with Greg?
I think so. But that one was really interesting because it was a show for children, but the messages were they were, talking about really deep subjects and things that, telling a child, you can be whoever you want to be. And I just think that, I think now I have a son as well. I think that's just so, powerful and important. And like, if we're all told that from a young age, the world's going to be a better place, And I feel like, again, it's great that we're seeing these sort of messages, being shown to people in TV and film and stuff like that. And you guys are help pushing that flag. So again, thanks, guys.
Well, that was a very unique project. And I also think Todd Holland, who was our director, was so on board with that message.
We do work on young adult themes. Yes, they're for a younger audience, but we don't have to dumb it down, right? Like, these are universal themes, right? Thankfully, we've got to work on projects like that and gravitate towards music that also is is more like, look, we don't have to pander down to you.
Yeah, I was looking back at that book that was really big in lockdown, that Charlie Mackesy book called The Boy, the Fox, the Mole and the Horse. Do you know that? It's,
Oh, no. I don't
know
you
that
guys,
one.
you must. I'll send you it. It's just the most beautiful book. I kind of read it with my son, and it just says the most amazingly beautiful messages. So
Right? Like
yeah, I'll send it to you.
something for your younger self needed to hear that.
Yeah,
right?
but more than ever, it's kind of, you read it and you think, yeah, no, I that hits me deeper than it will ever hit like a child sort of thing, you know.
Right. So Jack, what are some of your favorite sad songs?
Oh, wow. Okay. I mean, how long have you got? There's something that Patrick Watson said about harmony, and he was saying, it's about the myth between major and minor chords. And he said that the major, people think that minor means sad, major means happy. He's like, no, that's not the case. I mean, this is a great example. I mean, Coda is a major, very major chords. There's a song by an artist called John Martin. He's an English folk musician, and he wrote this song called I Couldn't Love You More, and it's just a man just saying how much he loves this person. It's not sad at all, but the way he sings it, it just breaks my heart. It's so moving. He just sort of effectively just saying, you can do anything and I'll always love you. And so in a strange way, that makes me, it really hits me.
Well, before you move on from that, I think we've talked about like someone doing something nice for you, or that hope of like, I'll love you no matter what. Like,
Yeah.
it does. It, like, I don't know, maybe this is turning into a major chord saddest song podcast because they're so powerful. Like, it's what moves you.
Yeah, or
Yeah.
things that make you so happy make you cry, right?
There's something about when people sing about regret and things like that, and something really moving about that. I mean, I mentioned, people like Coldplay, Radiohead, those sort of artists. For me, it's growing up, and these were sort of guys who sort of looked like me, who felt they could sort of be kind of vulnerable in a way and be melancholic. And that was always sort of cool to me. And so I was always, a song like The Scientist by Coldplay, it's every time I do think that is, no matter how much I stray and learn and try and delve into new music, and there's nothing more moving than a song like that when you come back to it. This was probably one of the first sort of songs I remember falling in love with as a sort of young, I must have been, about 10 or something when I heard that. And I was talking, there's a song by the Beatles, Blackbird, and so it's the first piece of music I ever remember, and it's still probably my favourite song ever, because I sort of feel that I almost feel like every piece of music ever made is trying to get back to that song, if that makes sense, because it's the starting point. That was the seed for me in music, so everything is a branch off of that song. There are those songs that no matter, we kind of can't kind of shy away from it because they just are in our DNA. And there's a song by Radiohead called True Love Waits, which is about a breakup with his wife of a long period. And we think of Tom York as this quirky, vague, like avant-garde, vague guy who we don't really know, a mysterious dude. And then when he sort of is so direct with a lyric and honest, that is when it really, you feel like, wow, you're really learning about this human being who sings in metaphors all the time and never pulls the curtain back. And then when he just says, don't leave, it's just the most moving thing ever, really.
We love Radiohead. And The Bends is like one of my seminal albums for me, because he was very honest there too. Like more, I think he became more abstract, as the albums went on. But that one I feel is like High and Dry is one of my all-time favorite songs. So.
I went out to breakfast with my daughter yesterday and High and Dry was playing, and I was like, why is this song so perfect? Like
it's perfect.
And I don't remember what we were saying, but I wanted to cry. It's not a sad song, but maybe it is a sad song. But I agree.
I want to cry.
I just like rehearing it, and the production, the way it's played, like also a little bit to The Scientist, like just like a band, like someone's playing the piano and then the guitar kicks in and like all that stuff.
They're all bedded in honesty.
Totally, and so simple, and just funny you say High and Dry. I was gonna put that one actually. It was, but I was gonna say another song that there's a Donny Hathaway song when he sings "To Be Young, Gifted and Black," and it's a live version. And I remember showing that song, and that really hits me still when he sings that. It still gives me it makes me so sad that those songs ever have to be written. And I just find it really, the whole crowd are amazing, and it's the most unbelievable recording. The soul in the room and the musicianship, and it's just stunningly beautiful. And then at the heart of it, there's this message, what a lovely precious dream. It's still, even talking about it, I still get goosebumps, but it's just about how songs can just connect us on such a human level and art. And I guess maybe that is kind of how music can do that, really, and saying something so pure and honest, and you don't sometimes have to dress things up and be on the side of metaphors all the time and things like that. Just saying sometimes with Coda, especially for me, that taught me that you don't have to do imagery and clever things. Sometimes just say what you feel, just trust in that and let the song write itself. I think about that song and how he sings, Donny Hathaway sings To Be Ungifted and Black, and think that is just an unbelievable piece of art, really, I think, and kind of about as moving and sad and beautiful as it can all get at once, in a way.
Yeah, and that like your heart can break for these people. We listen to Coda or we listen to that, and my heart breaks for the person singing it too. Like we were like, oh, I want to give you a hug. Having that power too of just, we're there for you.
I know you might have already been asked this because I know you did a show where you were interviewed as well. I'm going to ask you, have you already answered this question? What are your favourite sad songs?
That actually came up from Laura's niece asked us that question in our Ask Me Anything. I think we're figuring it out via this podcast. We've definitely like mentioned, like The Scientist has come up for me. Father and Son, Cat Stevens came up for Laura.
Yeah, the Verve Bittersweet Symphony, but it also is my dad's favorite song. And, you know, I know you and I were talking about signs and that Greg would show up as feathers. That song has been playing at times that you can't even like, my mom was in the ICU and I was rushing at the airport to get to her and I was going to miss the bag check off. I had called ahead and at Delta and they were like, just try to have TSA, just beg them, you got to get through. And I get downstairs and they're like, no, you're not going to be able to get through to TSA. And I was like, I have to go try. Literally the song starts playing on the Delta agent's phone. Wow. And I just was like, okay. I was like, that's Dad. He's saying go. So I just ran and went and I got through.
Oh my God, we love the same music. That is crazy. I mean, again, I say to everyone, Bittersweet Symphony is one of my all-time favourite songs. It's
the
just,
best.
Well, yeah, it's funny because I love that you guys, and what the music you're talking about in particular as well is and the great thing about music to picture, which suits me a lot better, is that for the music that I'm always drawn to and making, is it requires you can be more, you need to be a bit more patient with it. It doesn't sort of slap you around the face straight away, generally, and certainly the moments that I'm sort of thinking about, I guess, sort of like the emotional scenes or towards the end of a film or something like that, you get those really powerful moments. And I love that about music, where it can build, because that's how I listen to music. I will happily sit there and go through the whole process of listening to the 4.5 minutes of it. Whereas I guess, you know, with the way we right now is, you know, it's kind of much more kind of instant and kind of continuous, and chords tend to loop for a much longer period of time. You might have sort of 3 or 4 chords that constantly go around and around, and don't get me wrong, I love that and I make a lot of those songs, but there is those amazing moments, like The Science is a great example, with just one that's constantly building and building and building, and you just, by the end, you just feel this enormous euphoria. And I mean, Miko used to call it let's just do what you always do, Jack, and throw the kitchen sink at it. And where that would always be my thing.
We love the kitchen sink.
I know.
We love it.
And we've given that note. It's like, more. Can you add strings? Can you
Another
add 10
layer.
strings?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
what's happening here? Yeah. So looking back on the year or the months after Greg's diagnosis and before he passed, what is your advice? It sounds like whatever you guys did, your coming together was super meaningful. There's going to be a million people going through that same scenario. What would you tell them to do with their remaining time?
At first, I guess I need to say that Greg, he was an amazing human being, and he was the quiet guy. He didn't want to be the centre of attention, but everybody loved him, and he had this amazing ability to just put everyone else first. He just wanted to please everyone. And so in terms of that period, I mean, we just followed him, you know, I mean, and I hope I speak for his parents and his family when I say that, but we followed him, and he sort of guided us through it all. And it was immensely sad, of course, and there were some really, really difficult periods, but he was such a calm person throughout his whole life, and he just had this amazing ability to make you feel just sort of safe in a time where it could have been totally different. He made it into this peaceful period and showed us sort of, like, without sounding kind of cliche, but like what life's all about. And it's about friendship and love and family and being together and supporting each other through the high and the low times. And so this whole album, I mean, the reason it's called Love to You, Mate, there's a song on it called that, and it's not necessarily aimed at Greg. And truthfully, the whole album isn't either. There's a couple of songs which are, but the majority is that message. The reason I called it that was it's about this family and this group of people who were going through these things together. And with sadness, it's often the case, isn't it? When we feel sad, we feel alone, we feel like, does people understand what I'm feeling and things like that? But when you can share that with other people, it turns it into this complete communal thing, and having people around you that you can trust and not feel judged by, or not feel like you're gonna make a fool of yourself. That's the greatest privilege. So I'm just really grateful that we got to kind of cross paths and he got to share that with me. And that's why with this album and with this music, as you can probably tell, I don't want to like put it on, like I'm trying to sort of maybe deflect it a little bit, because I don't want it to be like, this is my story, this is my struggle. It is nothing like that. I mean, you can hear it in the music. It's about community and it's about family and friendship. And I'm just really grateful that I was able to share that with people. So I'd say that that's probably my best takeaway, is that I was able to share it with people I love.
So I think what was helpful, and I think surrounding yourself with people who can meet you where you are, and not you're just there for them and they understand, or they can even just sympathize and just sit with you and take a walk with you, and that you all have that shared understanding. I mean, I found myself gravitating towards people who also went through it because they understand in a way that people haven't. I feel like, oh man, I have the most wonderful people in my life because they care and want to support me. Surrounding yourself with people that can.
Well, it sounds like, Jack, you were really that person for your wife and her family too.
Man.
Yeah, it's those things that just show you how lucky we are in so many things. And I just feel really lucky all the time. I get to do a job I love. I get to live in a place that's safe and with great people around me, and I really feel grateful for that. And I think this album hopefully can kind of show that, and it's just a small little kind of nod to that period.
Well, thanks, Jack, for being with us today. This was so awesome.
Thank you so much, guys. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for joining us today on Sad Song Queens, because you always need a good cry. We will link these songs in our show page and our Spotify playlist. Please also like, comment, and subscribe wherever you find podcasts.
Huge thanks to Jack Kenworthy, John Luca Bucciolati, Miko Gordon, our friends at Bella Union Records, Downtown Music, 12 Mini Music, Sony Music Publishing, and Centric Music. Special production thanks to Stephanie Gangle, Eugenia Coe, Jordan Lindsley, and our producer Emily Cartham. Our theme song is All My Favorite Songs by Weezer, and our outro music is by Wyatt Rouse.
Hi, it's Lindsay from the Sad Song Queens podcast. You may have heard us allude to Rob or thank Rob Seals in the Songwriting School of Los Angeles at the end of our podcast. He has been so kind to let us record in his studio, and the Songwriting School is an awesome place. If you want to learn how to songwrite, record, or even information how to release or sync your song, there's a class for that.
The Songwriting School of Los Angeles is devoted to the artistry and industry of songs. To learn more, go to thesongwritingschool.com, where you can learn more or enroll in classes.